Oh, from New York, New York, you are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental Tire from the AT&T 5G Virtual Studios. I'm Andrew Wiebe with my single, solitary, top of the heap partner in soccer, Chuck D. Charlie Davies. And it occurs to me, Charlie, that neither of us are actually in New York. So I don't know if in this one case my intro fits, but it's certainly wonderful to be back with you, my man, and wonderful to be back on the show. It's been a beautiful 2 weeks. It's been a tropical 2 weeks. It's been a hurricane 2 weeks. I'm exhausted somehow from vacation, and yet here we are into the middle of a playoff race, an insane season, a CCL campaign that just ended for the Union, and a Leagues Cup campaign that drives on for the Sounders. How you feeling, my man? I like your shirt, by the way.
Thank you. It's a tribute to Paul Mariner. What an amazing person he was. A player, person, coach, just could always lift the room. So he'll always be remembered in New England, and I know in England as well. But tribute to him. And then I got my nice Kick Childhood Cancer scarf, feeling good. I'm feeling right. We're getting into like playoff mode. That's what pumps me up right now.
Yeah, it's that time. Middle of September. Things are starting to clarify, let's say. What kind of team are you? Well, your performances through 25, 24 and a half, whatever it is at this point, weeks, basically tells us it is packed up. There are the elite teams. We know who they are. You're used to us talking about them. You're probably saying, God, if I have to hear more about the Revs or the Sounders or LAFC. Sorry, LAFC, you're not actually in that category anymore this year.
Why'd you do that to
I had to do it. I'm sorry. It's just too easy. It was too easy. You're going to go crazy. So we're going to try to hit some other things today. We're going to play a little real or not. Talking Atlanta, talking DC, Philly, Miami, maybe LAFC or the Timbers, depending on who's the realist. Let's say. We have a new Golden Boot leader, by the way. It comes from one of those teams. I hope you know his name. You should know his name, Ola Kamara. We'll get into that. Atlanta are back. Are they ready to shake up this playoff race? And, of course, Seattle are going to this Leagues Cup final. We have Kelyn Rowe here to talk about the Sounders team as well as his efforts to help kick childhood cancer. Over at MLSsoccer.com, Steve Zakuani's Wednesday Takeaways, always a must-read after these midweek games. It is so hard to keep up. I identify with that as well. And Greg Zeltzer has the 8 Eastern Conference playoff games that will define the Audi 2021 MLS Cup playoffs. And Phil West has a piece on Joseph Martinez, almost to 100 MLS career goals. And we figure he'll be in the lineup this weekend as well on Twitter, Univision, and live and free on Twitter. But first, your biggest midweek result, Charlie. Take your pick, man. There's a lot to choose from. What's the one that's the biggest in terms of playoffs, in terms of vibes, in terms of just belief? At this time of year, that's big.
The biggest midweek result for me was Montreal Impact. Winning on the road.
Old habits die hard, man. I thought I was the only one.
Against Orlando City. I think for me, that was such a pivotal moment for Montreal Impact to say, hey, we're a playoff team. We have to win games like this on the road. We spent most of last year in Orlando. And to go there, and I know Nani let his team down, getting that, 2 yellow cards in the first half, being sent off. But for Montreal, that mentality, I think what Wilfried Nancy has done this year, given the fact that Thierry Henry left just before the season starts, says, I'm done. This isn't for me. I can't see my family. Still with the COVID protocols with Montreal, there's a lot of uncertainties. To get this team together, to believe and actually play quality soccer throughout the year, I mean, that's really impressive. And Romel Kyoto, I think, is still undervalued, underrated in this league. When he is motivated and fit, he is a problem. He's going to give any defender a problem because he's so strong, good finisher at times, always causing problems. So I think Montreal, they're for real.
They showed a little sign here, and they needed to show a sign too. It's been better for them after a bad 5-game stretch, sort of in the middle of the summer, the late summer here. Mm-hmm. They got a win against the Red Bulls. That was at home. They needed that. But then they drew away to FC Cincinnati and away to the Union. Given where all those teams are in the standings, yeah, they're away games, but those are a little bit of missed opportunities. And then to win at home and then come back and win away against Orlando, that gets them back in the hunt. They got 2 more coming up that they need to win. They are home to the Fire on Sunday. You got to win that. If you're a playoff team, you win that game, period. And then they're away to the Crew that next Saturday. So they got rest. They have opportunities against teams in the standings below them got to win those games. But this was a huge one to set them up. I absolutely agree. And Nani definitely shot Orlando City in the foot.
Who was it for you?
I'm going to go Leagues Cup. How could I not? Tuesday night. Intoxicating game, Charlie. Intoxicating tournament. It's everything we could have ever wanted. Like, I don't understand people who are like, this is too much for me. Like, I get the players, the coaches, if they want to say that, and we've talked about that ad nauseum on this show, they're the ones actually having to do it. But if you're a fan, if you're somebody who just wants to watch good soccer and enjoy it, and you can't enjoy Tuesday night's game, Sounders and Santos, you don't actually like, I don't know that you actually like this sport. Like, you're getting involved in this for other reasons. It's getting too complicated for you. Two really good teams playing first choice lineups, playing at a high level, throwing punches back and forth for 90 minutes. A late winner by Raul Ruiz Diaz, we know, is a Liga MX killer. He understands it. To put the Sounders in a final, the Leagues Cup final, now we know, against León, which I'm super happy about. If it was Pumas and the state they're in, that would have taken some of the shine off. I just don't know how anybody, as a consumer of this game, or as somebody who just straight up enjoys it, like, I'm just a fan of the game, I don't have a team, I just want to watch good soccer, wouldn't have enjoyed that game on Tuesday night. And to get them to a final, just same old for the Sounders. Shrug, ho-hum, you heard Brian Schmetzer, he's like, this is not MLS's story, as much as sometimes as a league we like to claim these things. This is the Seattle Sounders story. The Seattle Sounders handle business when business is to be handled. They go to finals. We're back again. This is what we do. Oh, by the way, we're still in the Shield race, even though some people will dismiss that, and they're damn sure in the MLS Cup race. So, look, I loved that night. I was also disappointed, of course, by Philly's bowing out against Club America, but that was sort of expected in a lot of ways, given the Union's form and America's form. But that was my biggest result. Every single time an MLS team can beat Liga MX in a competitive game, that's a good result. That's a big deal, and this was a big one as well. Next Wednesday, Las Vegas, León, Sounders, Leagues Cup Final. We'll have live shows around that, pregame Twitter Spaces, and then we'll be live on all the MLS channels like we are for USMNT and other games after the fact. Let's do it, Charlie. Let's play Real or Not. You want to play?
Let's play.
All right. Let's start with Atlanta United. So, FC Cincinnati comes to town, Charlie. What should you do?
Pile on the goals. Like, not only win, but pile on the goals.
Oh, yeah. It's a confidence booster, baby.
Yes.
It's like, Luis Araujo was like, who are these guys? I think I got this. Let me get my first goal. Joseph Martinez like, yeah, me too. Ezekiel Barco, yeah, okay, we're all going to get one in this. That'll work.
Yeah.
That'll work just fine. Big statement for Atlanta. Not just this game, but their last 7 games, really. 6 out of 7. Are they for real in your mind? And this weekend they got a big one. Saturday, national TV, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, I believe, Univision Tudian and Twitter against DC United, who are actually above them in the standings.
This one is probably the biggest match. They beat DC United on the road 2-1, and they've won 3 of the last 4. They lost to Nashville at home 2-0, so we can't forget that loss. That was a big loss. I think a telling loss as well, because Nashville are for real. You know, they were a team that really, I think, understood defend first, and let's think about attacking and scoring goals off of different ways, set pieces, counterattacks. Now they've developed into a team that can hurt you in so many different ways. But this game at home versus DC United, both teams really looking to get into the playoffs and get on that run, that magical run that all teams hope for heading into the playoffs. September is the month. September is the month you get your horses fit, healthy, and ready to go. No, there's no changing of ideas. You understand your culture, your philosophy, and everyone's bought in. If you don't have that buttoned up come September, you can kiss that postseason goodbye.
Is the button fastened for Atlanta? Are they for real, Charlie? That's the question. Do you believe in the 5 stripes?
I believe they get into the playoffs. I believe they get into the playoffs.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to give them. And that's
okay.
I already said before, Weeby. If they got to 8th place and they didn't get into the playoffs, that would be a success for where they were. They are a playoff team. They have the players. But it was never about the players. It was always about the coaching with this team and signing the right players for this team. That's what it was always about. Never about the players. They have the talent. They've always had the talent. But it's never been put out the right way to make sure you're getting the most out of each player in each position. I think Rob Valentino got them pointed in the right direction, and then you bring in Gonzalo Pineda, who I think has always been someone who's understood how to get results in this league, especially with all of his work done at Seattle Sounders as the assistant coach. I think they get it done. I think they get into the playoffs. And they have 5 home games. That is important. 5 home games, 3 away. This probably one of the biggest playing against DC United, because that's going to dictate the pressure for those remaining matches.
6 points, I know it's a cliche, but that is what is at stake here for both these teams. It's a chance to flip-flop with each other in the standings, which they could do. DC on 34, Atlanta on 33. If Atlanta win, and let's say they get some good results from New York City, dropping points, etc., they could jump all the way up, potentially, into that top 4 in the East. Would take some help. But they could do it. How about this? For real, Ezequiel Barco, this Ezequiel Barco.
He's for real. I've always thought Ezequiel Barco is for real. This is a player who can dribble players. He's creative, can bang long-range goals. He can combine. He's good on the ball. Just needs to be higher up the pitch. Needs to be surrounded by the right players and put in a position to succeed. They know he's talented. I think the only problem with him was the off-the-field issues. So if he's focused on the pitch and in the right spot, you're going to get the best version of Ezequiel Barco. We've seen it throughout his time in MLS. There's been moments where you're like, whoa, this player is capable of real magic at times. I think with that mindset and with Gonzalo Pineda and Rob Valentino, they're going to get the most out of him, and which means success for Atlanta United.
I mean, I'm not going to go guarantee that he gets to double digits, 20, like I did a couple years ago, assists and goals, but if he stays, which I don't know that that's a guarantee. We talked to Felipe Cardenas on our power ranking show on Tuesday.
Right.
He could get that this year with playoffs. He's at 6-5 right now, and he's just looking like a different player. Mentally, physically, with the final product. And Luis Araujo looks like a game changer as well. I'm going to be on your side. I'm going to go a step further. I think Atlanta United are for real. They're just getting Joseph Martinez back. You now have sort of a back line and a midfield that feels pretty settled when it hadn't prior to this. I think they've got some real potential in them, and I would not put it past Gonzalo Pineda to help lead a big second-half surge here that drives them up the table, 1, into the playoffs, but 2, helps them make some noise in the playoffs. Because, look, talent-wise, you said it. They're above and beyond most teams in the league. We always knew that. Now it seems like they finally have the cohesion they need. How about the other side? DC. Are they for real? And how real are they? Do you believe in this team right here, sitting sort of on that bubble right now in the Eastern Conference? Miami, Philly chasing them, Montreal, Atlanta right behind them.
I think they get into the playoffs. I don't think they're for real. They have 6 home games.
Explain that dichotomy to me.
This is my understanding and seeing them up close. They're missing a couple of pieces. I think defensively they struggle, the back line, because they're so aggressive. And Andy Najar is one of the players that I think Hernan Lozada really changed. He's back to looking like the Andy Najar at Anderlecht when he was beating teams, and now in a deeper position as a right wing back. He can influence games in a variety of different ways, combining, dribbling players 1v1. He's aggressive. He can finish. But I still think centrally, both defensive midfield position and the center backs, not convincing enough for me that they're going to be one of those teams that we're looking at in the playoffs that is going to make a deep run. So, and Ola Kamara scoring goals, kind of doing what he's supposed to do, but not in the same breath as some of these other top goal scorers in Major League Soccer.
Really? Come on now. Come on, Charlie.
Really,
in the same breath?
Really?
In the same breath, the man is leading the Golden Boot race. He has 16 goals. What do you want from a goal scorer? You want them to score? He's the Golden Boot leader. What do you want from him? How can you ask for more?
When we talk about Golden Boot leaders in previous seasons, tell me what separates a Golden Boot leader now from those Golden Boot leaders of the past who are MVP candidates.
Not all of them were.
Most of them were in the conversation, if not all of them.
Why? Okay, how about this? Why shouldn't Ola Kamara be in the conversation? At least in the conversation. How could you exclude him?
Because, one, he doesn't do enough for me to warrant MVP conversation, as in his presence within the game. Yes, he's scoring goals, but the build-up, the hold-up, creating opportunities for other players, all the other facets of the game, that's missing for me from him. And 2, look where DC United is. They're 5th in the Eastern Conference. They have 34 points, level with Montreal at 6th. You can't, for me, be in the MVP conversation unless you are moving mountains. If he was on pace to break MLS goal scoring record, which will probably move DC higher up the table, you can't put him in the conversation as the MVP.
Okay, that's out. But can we just celebrate Ola Kamara? He deserves it, right?
Yeah.
Come on, he deserves it.
I'm a striker at heart. Come on.
Yeah, this is
Scoring
incredible.
goals. Let's go.
This is incredible. I'm with you. DC's sort of in a middle ground for me. I think that's a playoff team. I think what they've proven over especially the last 3 or 4 months or so is that what Hernan Losada planted, let's say, in the preseason came to fruition. And that their ability to use their depth, to use their collective, to use tactics that I think are on sort of a, we've talked about it before. They're pressing harder and better than anybody else in the league.
Yes.
All of those things to me is exactly what DC needed from this season. They needed to turn the page from the Ben Olsen years. They needed something different. They needed fresh ideas. They needed a collective that outperformed maybe the talent level. And I think that they're there. And they can go even further, too. They've got a lot of talent coming back. We've talked over and over about how many players they've used. Mm-hmm. You say, hey, get the horses ready. Get them fit. This is September. Well, maybe they're finally there. And we're about to find out. This is a big one.
Yep.
Saturday, Atlanta, D.C., 3:30 p.m. Eastern, Univision, Turien, and Twitter. Huge game on Saturday. Big playoff implications. We're going to learn a lot about both these teams. How about this one? For real or not for real? Philadelphia Union.
Oh, boy.
Outside the playoffs in 9th. 1 point behind Atlanta in 7th, but the form says something a little bit different about where these two teams are going. And now out of CONCACAF Champions League. Are they for real? What's going on with the Union?
The Union, it comes down to a number of things. One, it's replacing Brandon Aronson. They've had trouble finding out who's going to be a 10 when you're playing with 2 strikers and Sergio Santos, who's currently injured, and a big part of them scoring goals because he's so different than Kasper Shibilko. So you had that presence. Corey Burke fills in, but Corey Burke lacks a lot of the technical skills and ability to, offset what Kasper Shibilko does, because Sergio Santos is really one of those players who gets in between the lines, always looking to play off the defender's back shoulder, get into space, create openings underneath for the Philadelphia Union attackers. And then I think Daniel Gadzag, another player who we probably haven't seen the most of, Anthony Fontana, who I thought was on this, I think, trajectory to be the next 10.
You had him on the skyrocket, baby.
Yeah, skyrocket. He's off that skyrocket. They have not trusted him to be the next guy. So I think it's a number of issues for the Philadelphia Union, but they have 5 home games and 6 away games coming into this last stretch. They're at TFC, home against Cincy, at New York City FC for the last 3 games of the season. They have to start winning. They really do need to get going, and I have a lot of questions for them. I don't think they're going to have what it takes to really make a push for an MLS Cup this year.
4 p.m. Eastern Sunday, Union host Orlando City, who shot themselves in the foot, as we said, against Montreal. Club de Foot Montreal, by the way, just in case we didn't correct that for you folks. I'm still making the impact mistake, even like 8 months later. We'll fix this one day. This game's on ESPN. I'm curious, Charlie, what you think or see about the future of the Union, because the big question for this year in following up a Supporters Shield season was whether or not that was sustainable or if they were going to be in for a sort of yo-yo existence. When I say yo-yo, I mean they will have really good years, and then they'll have years that are a little bit like this where they struggle to replace the guys that got sold because we know what they'd like to do. They would like to sell young, homegrown players. They would like to develop players. Maybe they're not homegrowns. Maybe it's a Kai Wagner or Olivia Mbaizo or whoever it might be. I mean, that's a delicate dance, right? It's a delicate dance because you got to get your other signings right. You have to have all those players around them, sort of your core, right? Those players have to stay healthy as they age and support and help more young players come through. When young players come through, more likely than not for you to maintain that level, they've got to hit quick. And that's not always the case with young players. Like, is this the immediate future of the Union? And no shame in that, of like being at the top or near it, and then sort of having a little dip, and then working their way back, and then having a little dip.
Well, you have two centerpieces when it comes to like pushing the tempo with this group, right? You have Alejandro Bedoya, who's a veteran leader. He's always going to expect the team to play at their best and compete to win. He's an ultimate competitor. And you have Andre Blake, one of the best goalkeepers in Major League Soccer. You have those two players, right? I think Martinez has been a great signing for them in a defensive midfield position, but sometimes he's a wild card, loses his temper. I think that is one of those players that has to grow into becoming one of the top midfielders in the league. But they have two home games right now, back-to-back. You got Orlando and you got Atlanta. If they win, they're 2 games in hand right now. They're at 37 points and they're in 4th place. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, pump the brakes. Don't be so concerned with us right now. We're just in the CONCACAF Champions League semifinals. We're 4th in the East. We're okay. So I think right now it's about getting their players healthy and trying to make that push. But I think they're still a player away from getting into the championship. And they're always going to have that yo-yo of like developing these young players. All of a sudden they perform, then you sell them, and you're back to square one. So it's about making sure that you're making the right signings who can come in for the players that aren't being developed under the club, who can pick up the slack. And that would be a player like Gazdag, who comes in as an attacking midfielder and can all of a sudden pick up the slack that was left when Aronson left for RB Salzburg.
He's got a goal and 3 assists in about 760 minutes. But if you look at this Union team, and you look at the series against America, and you wonder what's missing. Kasper Shabilko, 6 goals, 2 assists in 1,700 minutes. Corey Burke, 4 goals, 1 assist in 870 minutes. Sergio Santos, 4 goal, 1 assist in just over 1,050 minutes. That's your 3 best goal scorers / attacking players having 14 goals on the season. They would not lead the Golden Boot race combined.
Yeah.
Ola Kamara has 2 more. Ricardo Pepi almost matching these guys. Raul Ruiz, he's got as many goals as they do. The Union got to figure out how to score goals.
Agreed.
If they don't do that, they're going to stay below the playoff line. Right now, they want to be for real for me, Charlie, but right now they're not for real. That's just where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, when you're saying for real, I think they get into the playoffs.
I mean a true threat. Like right now, I'll put you on the spot. Do you think Philly will make the playoffs?
I do. I think Philadelphia make the playoffs.
Okay. We'll see what happens at the end of the year. I would not be as confident as you in that bet. Real or not for real? Inter Miami. They got a Friday night matchup against the New York Red Bulls, 7 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Fox Deportes. I believe that at one point this midweek, I don't know, things move fast in this league, and the standings are moving even faster than that. Probably sometime after that Tuesday night win in Toronto, 1-0. Look, a ball crossed the line, didn't get counted. We know that. You can hear more about that on Instant Replay. They won. Got a late penalty, 1-0. Hey, they were up to 5th place, I'm pretty sure. Well, they're not in 5th place anymore because other results compounded on them, but they are right on the edge of the playoffs. Inter Miami. This is the same Inter Miami team, Charlie. I'm pretty sure that I sat on this podcast, and I still, at that moment, I still agree with my take and said it was the worst expansion build of all time, or one of. I can't remember if I went all the way.
It's not topping Cincinnati.
Yeah, well, that's fair. That's fair. They're not even in the for real conversation.
Yeah.
Are Inter Miami for real for you?
No, they're not. And the reason why I say that is because, yes, they're 6 games unbeaten with 5 wins and a draw, but of those wins, 2 against Toronto FC. That says a lot.
Speaks for itself.
Yep. 1 against Cincinnati. Yep.
Speaks for itself.
1 against Chicago.
And you sensing a trend?
And 1 against the Crew, who are not the same Crew. And the draw was, I want to say Inter Miami, they learned a lot from that 5-0 shellacking they took from the New England Revolution at home. And they have, because the performances have no doubt improved, but they are still not good enough. They aren't good enough. And I think we'll see that come the end of the season when they play New York Red Bulls at home and then Nashville at home. then it's away at Atlanta, away at Portland, away at Red Bulls, and away at Crew. Those 4 away games back to back to back to back. I think it's going to be very difficult for this Inter Miami team to stay afloat and continue the form that they're in.
But if they can win away or get points away against the Red Bulls and the Crew, both those are possibilities, real ones. Mm-hmm. You're home against Toronto, then home against FC Cincinnati before a final 3-game stretch against, look, it's Atlanta, it's NYCFC, and the Revs. So if they want to have a chance, if they want to be for real, if they want to make it 2 out of 2 years, and you can quibble about last year's playoff berth all you want, like I'd be open to that. They got to be in position at the end of those 4 road games to win the next 2 home games and have a little bit of breathing room, because that breathing room might not last. I'm with you. Not for real right now. Still a lot more convincing to do for Inter Miami. They have the Red Bulls at home on Friday night. For them, that's a must-win. 7 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Fox Deportes. Winners of 5 of their last 6 are Inter Miami. And that's the thing about going on vacation, Charlie, in this league. I left, and Inter Miami were still just not worth talking about, really. And I come back, and here they are, and they're a big talking point. So that's how quick things change. How about this? More for real. LAFC or the Timbers, they're going to match up on Sunday on FS1. 6-pointer cliche. Wee, wee, wee. There's a siren for you. This one is, though. I mean, they're right there with each other in the Western Conference. And the Western Conference bubble is pretty significant. You go from Portland at 34 and 5th, all the way, really, I would argue, down to San Jose at 27 points in 11th. And just figure that entire area could get shaken up over the course of the last 2 months of the season or so. Who's more for real in your mind? LAFC, who won at Austin, or the Portland Timbers, who are coming off this incredible stretch of road games and now have their MVP back in Sebastian Blanco?
I'm going to go with the Portland Timbers are for real right now.
More for real.
Are more for real.
Okay.
More for real. Because of how they've had to change and adapt due to injuries, trades, and you're getting Sebastian Blanco, who is arguably one of the best midfielders in this league, back healthy and fit and in form. And you still have, players who can come off the bench, Diego Valeri, and change the game, right? So I think when you're looking at the complete package, I'm going to trust in Portland because of how they're built defensively as well over LAFC. There's just too many question marks with LAFC. Too many question marks. Great signing with Arango.
Yeah, that was a great signing. He might be the
great signing.
If they make the playoffs, he might be the newcomer of the year. I was going through awards yesterday for a column. It's up on the site right now. It's basically if you had to choose one player to back from each team or coach or whatever it is to win an individual award, who would it be? And for them, it would be, outside of maybe Sifu for Young Player of the Year, though he has no chance to win that, it would be Arango for Newcomer. Newcomer is dire this year, Charlie. There are not a ton of guys that you pick out of the pack and just say, yeah, that's the one. Mm-hmm. Having 5 goals and 5 starts for LAFC, if he helps get them to the playoffs, he would have a really credible case for that. That is a good signing. It's a win. Here's a number for you, or 4 numbers, I should say, on Sebastian Blanco. 65, 83, 82, 90 plus. Those are the minutes in the last 4 games, all of which he started for the Portland Timbers. And if we're talking about the comparison between these two teams, I think it's pretty clear coming back to draw Colorado down a man is a more impressive result right now than going to Austin and winning.
1,000%. And getting 3 straight wins on the road at Seattle, Houston, and Vancouver, that is also not to be, for us, we have to build up a team that goes on the road to win 3 straight consecutive games and then comes home down a man against Colorado, who also is one of the top teams in the league. I think Robin Fraser has done a tremendous job there and doesn't get enough credit, I think, to this point. But Portland, they're coming into their own. And we always see Portland come, September, start playing some proper football and the shape, the organization, and can't give them enough credit.
You counterattack proper football in your mind, huh?
Hey, they get the job done.
I'm just kidding. Hey. It does get the job done.
Yeah.
Seems like every time they settle back on it, they're like, oh, wait, why did we go away in the first place? Get ambitious, want to do more. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But we know what works for Gio Savarese. Yep. Seems like he's starting to find that in the right time. I would agree with you. Timbers more for real. LAFC, I'm not going to say they're fool's gold, but I would say that LAFC's, there's a lot of sparkle there. But there is some real dullness once you start to look and dig in deeper,
really
especially with their tendency to give up goals and bad goals.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be with you, Timbers, but this is a huge game. FS1, Fox Deportes, Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Having fun so far. Hitting a lot of teams. Let's hit some more. Real Salt Lake. I hope you folks out there smashed ESPN Plus for the San Jose game. You had Chofis out there with like an absurd hat trick. And we had people hitting us up in the mailbag. CM Leota hit us up and said, how many times in MLS history has a player scored a hat trick and lost? Well, Chofis gets to find out whether he's part of that. I'm not sure the exact trivia there, but I mean, his goals were sick. And then RSL, kind of with their season on the line, that's the way it's going to be the rest of the way. Get 2 late goals. Rubio Rabin, Justin Miram come back, win 4-3, move up to 6th in the West. They're doing all this after Freddie Juarez walked away to go to be with the Seattle Sounders. And now, Charlie, the rumors are starting to get floated about Landon Donovan to Real Salt Lake as the next manager.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
It is interesting. But if I'm Landon Donovan, that's probably not the job I want to take.
Okay, but let's just talk through if it was a job that you would want to take.
Okay.
Or the situation with Landon right now. Landon's got his loyal team, second in the West in the USL on 34 points. So like 5th or 6th in the overall USL Shield standings. They're having a good season. Again, he's got a legacy he's building there. You saw that last year in the way he treats his players and the way he treats the fans and the way he treats the issues that surround the game and life and are bigger than the game. You see his leadership in those moments. You know he helped build that club from the ground up, but does he want to be San Diego loyal coach forever?
No.
Probably not.
Nope, he does not.
Let's say, I'm just throwing out, this is a scenario. This is an alternate universe that may or may not come to be a real one. Mm-hmm. Let's say RSL gets just a rock-steady ownership group out there, local ownership, going to invest in the team. They've already got sort of a good pipeline going with the academy. They've got, they've got good facilities. It's a pretty good flight to Southern California, which is probably important. Do you think there's a scenario in which they could attract Landon Donovan? You remember all those? Remember back in the day, Landon's going to come to RSL. He's going to play a year at RSL. Didn't happen, but he'd already entertained the idea of living in Utah. Could it happen?
Anything's possible.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anything. If they throw plenty of bags at him.
Like a Kevin Garnett, anything is possible.
Yeah, he's. I mean, yes. If they throw enough money and enough of an incentive to join a project like Salt Lake's, then yeah, of course it could happen. He's coaching USL, so it's a major step up. But if I were Landon Donovan, I would wait for the perfect opportunity to kind of fall my way. And so when you're looking at other teams that could potentially go in a different direction, you're looking at the teams who are struggling this year. San Jose Earthquakes, for me, if I'm Landon Donovan, having played and had success in San Jose, will make a whole lot of sense. If they said, we're going to go in a different direction and we're going to open this job up and Landon Donovan is who we're going to target. That, for me, seems really appealing to Landon because he's been there. He loves California. He knows the area. That's going to always be important for Landon, is where he is. Will his family be comfortable in that area? Will he be comfortable in that area? Because it's both on and off the field as a coach. The project, the ability to connect with the community, all of that has to be taken into account. And I think he would find probably the most happiness being in San Jose with his family and the job, knowing that if that was ever a possibility, that would be extremely attractive for a player like Landon Donovan, coach.
Look, if I'm Real Salt Lake, I might, and look, you would have to find the ownership group first, right? That's still the sort of elephant in the room here. Landon Donovan would be a hell of a first hire. Mm-hmm. Would be an incredible hire. Would be a statement of intent. And I think if San Jose were to do that, or whatever team, it would go the same way. You just wonder what Landon would need, what he would want, if he wants to leave San Diego from an MLS opportunity. It'd be very interesting to find out.
It would
be.
Very
interesting. We shall see. But huge result for Real Salt Lake. Congratulations to them. Just sort of keeping it alive. Props to all those guys for fighting through what has been an incredibly difficult 2 years for that entire club. I mean, to go through what they went through last year on the coaching side, the ownership side, then this year to have their coach essentially say, hey, I'm going a different direction here. The guys are picking up the pieces. 6th in the West is pretty darn good, all things considered.
Agreed.
But produce an Anders reminder of the day tells you a little something about those early RSL teams that were so good and why these Seattle teams are so good. Garth Lagerwey. Seattle's headed to another final, Charlie. Tried to hype it up off the front. We'll talk to Kelyn Rowe about it in just a second. You know I'm a big Leagues Cup guy. You know I believe this is only going to get bigger. You know I believe in the quality of play on display. I'm starting to believe more in MLS's chance to compete, particularly the teams at the top of the table and the top of the echelon, which the Seattle Sounders obviously are. Before we get to Kelyn, what do you make of this Leagues Cup final appearance for the Sounders? How much does this matter? What does it say about this club?
It matters for the club because whatever competition they're in, they want to win, no matter who they're playing against. And I give a ton of credit because all the emphasis really is put on MLS Cup. Let's be honest. All teams really are going for MLS Cup. That is the one trophy that everyone has their eye on. Yes, CONCACAF Champions League would be nice to be the first club to win that and play in a Club World Cup. Phenomenal. But MLS Cup is the ultimate trophy. Then the Supporter Shield, that gives you credibility because you've done it consistently throughout the year. And Seattle Sounders love to win that trophy as well. And they make sure they go out every game.
They got one, Chuck. They got one.
I think every year you can consistently say Seattle brings it.
They'll at least be sniffing around.
Yeah, they'll be sniffing around. Like they're a consistent team that there's a couple of seasons where you're like, whoa, what the hell was that? But then they come in storming come the fall.
For them, clearly it's always been MLS Cup.
Yeah.
Then it's been the Shield as a second. And the Open Cup has been a great bonus for them, and that's what the Leagues Cup would be as well. But I think they're in a position to prove something, not just to the rest of our league, to MLS, but also to Liga MX, to the region. Like the quality of their project
is
over this course of time.
Top.
I'm not sure there's any club in Liga MX or in MLS that could boast a similar level of regular season consistency as well as trophy winning.
Maybe Tigres.
Maybe, but then there's regular season consistency, and in the regular season, sometimes the way Liga MX works and the ups and downs, you get into that final 8. They've made runs from lower positions in the playoffs. I don't know. Somebody will fact check me on that. But to me, this is just another marker in sort of this incredible legacy for Adrian Hanauer and that entire ownership group, for Garth Lagerwey, for Siggy, on to Brian, like to every player that's been a part of it. I know that on Monday they waxed poetic about the Revs, and we should also be waxing poetic about the Sounders, and not just because of Leagues Cup, because of everything that they do. But go back and look and try to find a significant misstep from this team in the last 5 years.
You're not going to find one.
There's not many. And if there were missteps, they were quickly corrected, or they were missteps that could be recovered from. They're not giving 5-year DP deals to scrubs. They're giving them to players that are arguably the best at fill in the blank in the league. The best player, Nico Lodero. The best goal scorer, Raul Ruidiaz. The best defensive midfielder, João Paulo. I mean, they just don't waste roster spots. And I look at this team, and we're going to talk to Kelyn in a second. Kelyn is a guy like that. They're getting the absolute best from Kelyn Rowe. They're getting the absolute best from Jimmy Madronda, who they picked up on a trade from Kansas City. They've been getting the absolute best of Will Bruin. Freddie Montero is a freaking game changer. Like, the dude is, what he's doing for this team is incredible. You wonder why the Whitecaps couldn't get a little bit more of that out of him. His ability to create, his intensity, his leadership, you feel it all. I mean, you all through this roster. Shane O'Neill. A lot of people gave up on Shane O'Neill. They've gone too deep at their goalkeeper position. Alex Roldan's become one of the best players in the entire region at his position. Christian Roldan has lost one game this entire year? What?
And then Nuhu, I mean, another player who was kind of like, he has pace, he's strong, gets up and down, makes some tackles, also kind of a wild card. This year,
not wild.
Nope. Consistent, someone you can depend on. He looks like composed as well, knows what to do, knows how to get under your skin, but not pushing the envelope too much. Yeah.
Yaimar, hit on your TAM center back.
Yeah.
A lot of TAM center backs out there that teams didn't hit on. Nicholas Benazet. He was a nothing burger for like the last year and a half. He was nothing. And now he's playing a significant role for one of the best teams in the league. Xavier Arriaga, there were question marks. He is an absolute horse. I love watching him play. I also love the fact that anytime he takes somebody down, he's have you seen the shoulder charges he hits people with after the play? And the smiles and just like the sort of, I don't know how to, it's like, I'm here vibes. Like, I'm here to hit you. I'm going to be here to hit you. You're not going to escape from me. And I'm going to show you I enjoy it. The whole damn team is just so much fun to watch, man. And like, again, I heard the guys wax poetic on the Revs, and I just was applauding the whole thing because I was like, when teams are this good, when projects are this well developed and thought out, we should not hesitate to just absolutely layer on the praise, and that's what they deserve. All right, let's talk to Kelyn Rowe. He's got more on the Sounders. It's an AT&T 5G call to the field. To Seattle we go. The hometown boy, Kelyn Rowe, a Leagues Cup finalist. Kelyn, in your career, have you ever been so honored?
I think I've been to one final before. Charlie was there, but this is incredible. 6 months in, and I'm already in a final.
Perfect. That's the Seattle Sounders lifestyle, man. Get used to it. You come to the club, it's like one final a year. That's like a slow return. That's not that good. Ask the Roldans. They know.
Oh, God. Don't do it to him that way. Kelyn, I know you've been talking about it. It was as almost as if it were a dream to play for your hometown club. I got the chance to do it. I mean, it just brings a new perspective and new feeling when you're playing professionally. What has it been like for you to finally play? Because I know we've always joked about it with you, but to finally play for the Seattle Sounders.
I've always had like this admiration of people that do play for their hometown club. I mean, you, Scott, at the time when I was in New England, Scott Caldwell, Chris Tierney, guys that have grown up and you see them kind of go full circle, not only families, but the coaches that helped them get there, the friends that they had that may never have gone to their club games because it wasn't a high school game. They got to finally see you play in person and realize that all those sacrifices you made growing up were for a bigger picture. And it all came full circle. And so the fact that I was able to finally get that, it's just an incredible feeling, man. And every time you get to play, and even on the road, I know that my friends and family are watching back at home. I've had people go to the bars and have watch parties, and that's really cool to see because he didn't quite get that in New England from this family that I had. I had that New England family, but I didn't have not quite that love there. And so I realized that is such an incredible thing. And I want every player to be able to do this because it is something that in your career that is just, it steps above anything else.
You have to pinch yourself when you're like, I'm going home. Because you had the tattoo, you had the history, you had the family, you had it all. We were just waiting. Like, what was the moment like when you knew, when you could go to your parents, go to your friends, go to your family and say, I'm coming home?
I think it was. I didn't hide it very well for my folks. I tried to surprise them, but I didn't hide it very well. I'm not good at that. But it's kind of been in the works for a few years, so I knew it was going to come about at some time soon. I didn't know it was going to be this year. I was just hoping it would. And for me, it was pure bliss. I mean, when I told my folks, it was, like I said, I attempted to surprise them, but I knew I didn't. I was actually in New England at the time, and I FaceTimed and kind of group chatted my whole family and told everyone and popped a bottle of champagne and everyone was happy.
Kelyn, you got to work with Alex Caulfield. I remember when you came to train with us at DC United in 2011. Yeah. Now you get Alex Caulfield with Seattle.
Yeah.
What has that been like? Has he treated you right? How has he changed?
Oh, he's great, man. He's actually, I think he like tore his bicep or something. Like
this is the head of PR for the Sounders, by the way, folks. Yeah. This is who hooked us up with Kelyn
Lost a bunch of weight, and no, he's been great, obviously, because we had that kind of connection training in DC. I still remember that week. I was like the hottest week in DC. I had my first training with a MLS team. I was there for a whole week. I had Chuck just ragging on me every day. It was amazing.
Yeah.
First thing he did was like, "That's the outfit." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm in college."
I put you on the right path.
This man would come in and he would grade my outfits every day, and I think I only had one A, and it was like a full suit.
Hey, it was sharp and it was tight. So,
but look, you still remember that. Yeah. You still remember that A.
Exactly.
That's the value there of those grades. You keep him in high esteem in that sense. tell us about your role for the Sounders team. But first, tell us about the Leagues Cup, man. I don't want to skip over this. We're trying to build this. I'm trying to build this because I think it has huge potential. I love watching MLS against Liga MX games. In particular, I love watching games like the one we saw on Tuesday, where it's two teams that are evenly matched, talent-wise, tactically, in terms of desire. And then I can't help but love when Raul Ruiz puts the nail in the coffin and sends you guys on. I mean, how are you guys thinking about Leagues Cup? How do you think about Leagues Cup?
Like, I think Christian said it best, that this club, the Sounders, is used to getting to finals. We're there for trophies, and the opportunity that we had, it was a 3 or 4 game opportunity to get a trophy. So let's make sure we put everything we have into these games to make sure that in this season we can find at least 1 or 2, 3 opportunities to find a trophy, and we put ourselves in a position to do so. So it's very important to us, not only to us as a team, but for us to give back to the fans as well. Obviously, it wasn't an amazing time for the fans last year. They couldn't really come and watch us play. It was a hard time. They always had to be home, and we had to play in front of an empty stadium, which is not our favorite thing. And so the fact that we are able to find a way to give back already halfway through the season, I think that's incredible and something we want to do.
Let's go over your journey to Seattle as a player, and positionally, I think more importantly, now it feels like you found your footing with the Seattle Sounders in the central midfield. But you were an attacking player with us with the Revolution. You score these goals, you drop these bombs from deep, and then you kind of move on to Salt Lake and Sporting Kansas City. Those things don't work. You come back to the Revs, and I thought last year you had some really great performances in that deeper midfield role. Now you get moved on again to Seattle, and you find a way to not only play and be on the field, but make an impact. How is that what has that journey been like, both mentally and physically, and what has allowed you to have success with the Seattle Sounders now?
I think the reason for success is kind of the mindset of, like, what position? I don't have a position. I've got 5 positions on the field now, which means I'm going to be on the field. And that's my mindset. And you were there in New England at the time when I was, in one game, I'd play 3 positions. I'd play the 10, the 6, and then all of a sudden I'm playing left back. And it's just a mindset that no matter what, I'm on the field, which means I'm going to have to make an impact wherever I am. And it also helps me mentally in the soccer brain to kind of just, okay, I have to learn these different areas. And once I did go that left back, right back position, I learned how to really defend and not just be a dumb number 10 that's not defending and kind of just wants to score goals. So when I moved into that 6th position last year, especially with New England and with Bruce, I knew my role, right? It was to win the ball and pass it to Gustavo and Carles. Like, it wasn't like there was, I want you to make the game every time you touch the ball. Absolutely not. That wasn't my role. It was to win the ball and make sure that the guys in front of me, the guys who are the creators of the team, get the ball. And I've kind of put that into this year as well. Can I find a way to do more running or sit a little bit more? So João Paulo, the guy who's unreal on the ball, can find more chances to put the ball in the box or get a little bit more forward. Can I make it easier on the defenders or the outside wing backs who are pushing forward every time they can to cover for them and make sure that they are still in the attack and not have to worry about defending as much? So it's just about finding ways to get the guys who they want on the ball so I can stay on the field.
Compare and contrast for us. Bruce Arena and then Brian Schmetzer. That's 2 pretty good head coaches to be under in back-to-back seasons. I
mean, just winners, right? You have 2 coaches who have known how to win. And so whether it be putting in certain players in certain positions or building this culture of winning and finding the Seattle way, it's just these coaches find ways to win. Whether they see it on paper or on personality or using any bit of motivation that they can, they find ways to win. And it's incredible to be able to play underneath both of them.
Well, I'm going to hit you with another compare and contrast since we're on that topic and that subject.
Yes, Charlie, you're the best. One of the best.
Yeah, I know.
Although, what would you grade this outfit here for Charlie? This might not be an A for Chuck. Okay, damn it, Chuck. It is an A.
That's an A.
All right, didn't see the T-shirt. My bad.
Yeah, it's a salute to Paul Mariner.
Yep.
Obviously, I got to rock that.
One of the best humans I've ever met.
Yes, and coaches and just personalities, but. Compare and contrast, Carlos Heel, who you got to see up close, what an incredible player, and now with Nico Ladero, both, technically gifted, left-footed, and just the influence they have on and off the ball.
Most of the league will know this already, but if you haven't, those are in my opinion, the two best players I've ever played with. It's incredible to see what they can do, and not only what they can do on the ball, but like you said, the presence that they have. Right, they draw 2-3 defenders and create so much space for other people. I mean, look at all the assists that Carles has because he's kind of taken on one guy, and all of a sudden there's three next to him because they're working to cover for the guy that's defending, and they leave open. Three guys. It's incredible to see that what they can do and what they can bring to games. But they are different players, right? I know they play the same position, but Nico's more active than Carles. Nico's making sure he's moving all the times. You can see his numbers especially, but you see it on the field. He's on the left, he's on the right. Carles is more of the guy who's sneaking behind you. He kind of sits in that one position, and he may walk a little bit, but he's going to walk, and you're going to all of a sudden lose him because you're not checking your shoulder every 10 seconds. And he's finding a gap of space that he can turn and make things incredible. So they are somewhat different in that sense. But to play with them, and at least I do, whenever I can, and they're asking for the ball, you give it to them.
Put it on their foot.
Yes. Yep.
That's
you
the
give
deal.
it to them. I think it was Danny Alves was talking to Sergio Dest, was like, what's your advice for Sergio Dest? And he's like, give the ball to Messi. It's not that hard. And that's the same kind of mindset. It's like, look, if you have a chance, give him the ball.
Seems to be working out pretty well. Certainly for the Revs. They're in the supporter shield. And for you guys soon to be as well. You have Steph Fry coming back, is back, Nuhu, and of course Nico Ladero. 2 games in hand. Could get you within 4 points, I believe, of New England. Pretty tough schedule for the Sounders going down the stretch here. How much do you guys talk about, if at all? How much do you entertain the possibility of an incredible supporter shield run? A vintage Seattle Sounders second half, you might say.
Yeah, no, I think we, internally, I think we talk about it. One of us is going to, hopefully New England slips a little bit and we can kind of catch them up on some points. The chest is waving his hand, no, but, it's a good race. I've even chatting with some of the New England guys. They're telling us, hey, stop winning. We want an easy race. And we're saying, hey, no, stop winning. We want a race. So it's just a fun little battle, right? Unfortunately, we don't get that to play them until the final, if we both make it there.
At Gillette.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's got to be decided, Charlie. You can wave your finger all you want, but
to me, it's either way. It's kind of it's an amazing time, right? You get to have a final at Gillette, place where I played, for 8 years, or you get a final in Seattle where I can be home and win a cup. So either way, winning a cup in either stadium is great.
Yeah, both teams got to still do the work to get there, but
correct.
I think hypothetically, incredible.
How about this,
if the final were tomorrow?
Yes.
Hypothetically, and it's not going to be hypothetically, how do you guys change with those 3 guys back in the starting lineup for you? In Nico, in Fry, in Nuhu, maybe even Jordan Morris here at some point. We're not going to look forward to that, but it's a possibility.
Right. Of course. Jordan's getting back in as much as he can. He's kind of in, a small bit of training now, which is amazing to have. Just get him on the field. It just makes everyone a little bit more happy. But it doesn't change all that much, right? It just creates more and more depth, something that we knew that we had in the beginning of the year until we lost all these guys. But we have so much depth now. So we have this Leagues Cup, and whether it be Stephen Cleveland or Stephen Fry or Spencer Ritchie in goal, that we have opportunities to rotate guys in now and keep guys fresh, which is great because we have 4 away games now with the Leagues Cup. We have 4 away games in a row. With travel, with Wednesday, Saturday. That's a tough thing to have, and to be able to have this Supporter Shield race to stay on top of the West. We need to have the rotation because it just kills guys' legs and going into the end of the season. So we need to make sure that we're going to use that depth, and I think it's a great strength of ours.
Kelyn, I'm curious to know, since you've been in Seattle, who's grown the most? Who's developed the most? Because for me, it's Alex Roldan. I didn't see him really developing into a player who can really impact the game. He was
impact the region, Charlie.
Yeah, even with El Salvador, he looks like he's the best player, and he's really added to the chances, I guess, of El Salvador are really, shaking up the CONCACAF.
Yeah, that El Salvador USA game, I thought, and I think many people thought that he was the man of the match. He was the best player on the field.
Agreed.
Alex Rodon.
Yeah,
I know that the MVP races of MLS and stuff will go to the goal scorers, the assist makers, and it won't be a defender. I understand that. It's just how the world works, right, in football. But I think Alex Rodon is a sleeper in MVP, not only for our team but for the league. He's been insanely good, and it won't show up on assists or goals. But he should probably have about 10 to 15 assists. Maybe it hits the crossbar or it hits the goalie, and so no one gets an assist. That kind of thing. So he's been absolutely incredible for us. I think you were right that he's been one of the guys who has grown so much throughout the year, and has made his impact in the fact that he's I would say number one, number two, obviously behind like Raul or Nico on the starting list. It's been insane. And then my second one would probably be a guy like Josh Atencio. I think I don't think we've seen a lot of him just yet because he had that early injury, but he's grown into a very good player, and I love to see young guys like that, especially coming out of here, to be able to grow and hopefully get a lot more playing time and maybe go somewhere even bigger.
Pretty incredible what the Sounders are able to do up and down the entire roster. It feels like between Garth and Schmetz and the entire staff, which has now been turned over and is coming back in with some big names. You guys just get the most out of everybody, including Kelyn Rowe. Kelyn, we got to talk about Kick Childhood Cancer Month.
Thank you.
Continental Tire is all about that. Before we do, I know Charlie just keeps pushing me off Leagues Cup. I will not have it, Charlie. I have to have one good Leagues Cup question. Kelyn, when you go up against the Liga MX team, and of course his win against Santos was big, and you did it before that as well. What's the difference between those and MLS games, and what do you think of this rivalry between the two leagues going forward? How do we better compete against Liga MX in Leagues Cup, in CCL, across the board?
I think the Leagues Cup's a great idea. I would love the fact that they're making it worthwhile. They're not just throwing, all right, let's play an exhibition game. Let's make a tournament out of it. Let's make 4-4. But it's tough, right? If you're going through a struggle in the season and you need to make points in the league, well, you're adding another game midweek that would hurt you maybe if you don't have the depth. So that's tough. But I love the games, honestly, and I love the fact that like a game like on Tuesday, it was back and forth the whole time, and it was a track meet from minute one. It was counterattack to counterattack to counterattack, and sometimes that doesn't always work. I had a great time doing it. I was having a blast. I love those kind of games. So I think it's interesting to see the different styles and something you don't see every day, because whether you watch the game or not, you don't play against these teams. And I think it's a fun way to kind of get back into the love of the game and not have to have this repetitive, I've played San Jose 10 times in a season. I've played LAFC 10 times in a season. Mm-hmm. It's nice to go outside and find some new fresh blood to kind of, beat up on or to learn a little bit more about the game. In the league, in MLS, I maybe get away with a tackle here and there, or, I was out of position. This team will punish me. It's something like that. So it was just fun for me to get back into playing something I didn't know.
Yeah, now let's push Leagues Cup to the side, as I've been trying to do.
No. It is funny. It is funny how Kelyn was like, yeah, just, a team you get to beat up. That's like a Sounders only perspective. Yeah. The rest of the league is like, we're just trying to get there, baby.
Yeah.
Well, you get to kick someone else that you don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Get into a tackle. And it's just so much more fun than getting into a tackle with a guy I know I'm going to have a beer with later.
True. That is true. all I know is you've been one of the leaders and role models when it comes to being involved in Kick Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And you did a lot of work at the Boston Children's Hospital with Katie Devine and really organizing some incredible events. What are you doing now in Seattle to continue your role in getting people to understand what's taking place and how to help?
Well, what's great is everyone that's working in the community here and with the team and with a little bit of the hospitals as well. They've kind of reached out right when I got signed, which has been great. But unfortunately, we're still in that COVID world. So we're not able to have those kids come to the game, which was my favorite part is getting the kids out of the hospital. They haven't been able to be released from the hospital, and we're not able to have the support that they need at the games. So at the moment, we're taking a step back from having the actual event at the games, but we look to do that next year hopefully I'm still here. And so what we're doing is now we're doing video calls. So I will have a call with a kid in the hospital, or we can make videos. So they'll send in their names, what they're really into, and kind of give a quick message to them, kind of telling them hello and that we support them. And it's not only myself, but the whole team. And what's great about that is the team here is just a bunch of good guys. That everyone is kind of involved in their own little thing. I know Will Bruin's doing something with the Georgetown Brewery right now, where he's got his own beer that he made, and the proceeds of that, it's called Two Thumbs Up. The proceeds of that are going to childhood cancer and the hospital. So not only myself is doing all these great things, is I know that most guys are also doing their own little snippets, and it just creates a good community around Seattle. And I know that back in New England, Teal's doing his back to school thing, which is great. So if you haven't done that in New England area, make sure you guys go donate to Teal's back to school.
Kelyn, what was the moment you decided that this was something that you wanted to devote time and energy and emotion and effort to?
I kind of put my hands in everything when I was first in the league. I wanted to make sure I wanted to get in the community as much as possible. And if anything stuck, I would kind of go on that. And it was actually the first kid I ever hosted. His name was David. But I met him in the hospital, and he was, can I come to a game? And I was kind of put aback by yes. I can't really tell you yes, because I don't know if you can get out of the hospital or how sick you actually are, because you never ask. But we were able to do it, and the look on his face and the pure joy of him and his brother and his family, kind of, okay, this means more than just football. This is more than soccer. This is actually real life, and I can do so much more. And from that event, created Kelyn's Nigu crew, and I never want to look back.
Beautiful stuff, man. We know it means a lot on this show. We know it means a lot to families across the United States and the world. So Kelyn Rowe doing good stuff in Seattle, having a great time in his hometown as well. Maybe Leagues Cup champion. Do you guys get rings? Can I just ask that? Do you look at?
Dude, you're asking me. I don't know.
All right.
I think we need rings.
You got to ask. You got to ask Schmetzer. Say, hey,
I know.
Can we get some silverware, some rings?
I mean, I'll take a few cases of wine.
There you go.
There you go.
So Leagues Cup next week. Seattle Sounders chasing a shield. Kelyn Rowe doing good work. We appreciate your time, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
All right, big thanks to Kelyn for joining us, and thanks to him and everybody in the Seattle community, as well as in Boston and all over the country, doing everything they can to kick childhood cancer. We've got our scarves up. We, of course, put the tweets out. I think and hope that 50 grand will be delivered by Continental via the hashtag. If you haven't used it, go use it. Hashtag kick childhood cancer. Just got to tweet it. That's it. No sweat. No skin off your back. That's money. That's money to go help kids and their families. Let's talk real quickly about Sporting KC before we get to the mailbag and get on out of here, Charlie. Sporting Kansas City laid the wood on Minnesota. Figured that would happen when I saw the Minnesota injured list. It did happen. 4-0. With that win, Mike McGrew on Twitter says KC joins the Galaxies, the only teams in MLS history to surpass 1,150 points all time. I would not have thought that. I might have put DC there. They had some down years, yeah. But I would not have thought that Sporting KC, among the MLS OGs, would be in that position. And we're heaping praise on the Sounders. Sporting KC probably deserves a little bit of that, too.
They do. Peter Vermees, what he's done year in, year out, yes, they've had some misses. But they've always been a team that you're going to have to really focus to beat. It's never an easy win. And playing in Kansas City especially, the crowd, the brilliant stadium they have, the atmosphere, Sporting Kansas City brings it, and Peter Vermees deserves all the credit for building that club from the ground up.
Points, they're at the top of the West. Only thing for me keeping them from sort of the fawning Revs Sounders discussion is probably just inconsistency on the back line this year. A ton of injuries across the entire line. If they can get consistent there, if they can get Izzy Matt Marine back, they might just make a run at this thing. Hell, they might do it without him. So we shall see. They have a big game coming up, not this weekend, but the next against the Sounders. So we'll look forward to that one as well. I just want to throw it out there in the Shield race. Sounders going to RSL on Saturday night, MLS Live on ESPN Plus, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And then the Revs host the Crew at 7, MLS Live on ESPN Plus. Hopefully we get the dulcet tones of Charlie Davies coming through on that one. Charlie, let's
you
get to the
will.
mailbag. 401-2060-MLS, extratime@MLSsoccer.com. This is Sean from San Jose. He's a Crew fan. He's from Ohio. Says he doesn't want to take anything away from the Revs, run away with the Shield season, but do y'all think the Revs have benefited from not being in CCL or Leagues Cup and can solely focus on MLS play? One, do you think they've benefited from that, Charlie? And two, they had the big discussion on Monday about the Shield, whether it was the Revs to just have now, it's already theirs, or if there really is debate. Where do you stand on both those points?
I think, yes, when a team's not playing more games than they have to, of course you're going to benefit. But Bruce Arena has done a terrific job of rotating the squad. And they've had to deal with injuries. Carlos Gil, Gustavo Bo, making sure that he still sets up the team. Tejan Buchanan gone. Obviously, you're losing internationals when World Cup qualifiers come around. He's done a fantastic job of getting these Revs ready to play no matter who's on the field. And it's because of the identity of this squad and the depth that they have. A lot of the untested players who have come out have performed. Matt Polster has kind of developed into the player that we all hoped when he was playing at the Chicago Fire, being consistent and playing simple. That has allowed everyone. Tommy McNamara getting the most out of MLS veterans. He's done, I think, a fantastic job this year. Ima Boateng, another player who's still developing under Bruce Arena with the Revs, but as of late has looked sharp. But I think for the Revs, what's really stuck out for me is the game changers that they have in Matt Turner, in Tejan Buchanan, Gustavo Bo, Carlos Gil, and now Adam Buxa. Those five, when you can play horribly for 89 minutes and it takes one player to come up with something masterful, which they're all capable of, to win the game, that's how you know Revs are always in it. They're always in it. And every team they play knows that. It's almost like, yes, they might be playing better, but they know at any moment, Tejan Buchanan can just beat two guys, square a ball in for Gustavo Bo. Gustavo Bo can shoot from 40 yards out, upper 90, a bullet off the crossbar. Adam Buxa can just pop up in the box and finish. And Carlos Gil, we know what he's capable of set pieces and just his mastery on the ball. He's not the fastest player in the league or the quickest, but he can beat 2-3 players on the dribble.
You would think he is, though, because nobody wants to get close to him.
You can't get close to him because of his position. He's just brilliant. The little magician is what
Do
I
they
call
win
him.
the Shield, though, Charlie?
Yes, I do. I do believe that.
Would you guarantee? Would you?
No, don't
Would
throw
you
that.
go out on a limb?
Take that hex somewhere else. I'm not throwing any juju on this run. So no,
Okay.
not answering that. No chance.
All right. How about a double? How realistic is the double for this team? Because a Shield would be nice, but for Revs fans, for the Crafts, for Bruce Arena, for everybody, MLS Cup is the goal.
MLS Cup is the goal. And of the 25 teams that have won the Supporters Shield.
So we're already marking that down. So
Yep.
I'm not going to say it's a guarantee, but we're marking it down.
But I'm just going to say only 7 have gone on to win MLS Cup. And of that 7, Bruce Arena has done it twice. With DC United in 98, with the LA Galaxy in 2011. And I'm just saying he's done it before. So it's not something new for Bruce Arena. He's been in the MLS Cup. He's won it 5 times, right? He's been in the position to win Supporter Shield. He's had talented squads. Thanks to my man Gleno, the masseuse for the Revolution, he was able to give me those stats. But I'm telling you right now,
Dude,
this
what
team,
a multi-skilled guy there.
multi-skilled.
Making sure the hammies are nice and loose, and then bam on the hitting with the stats.
Glenn O'Connor is one in a million, just a class guy. But I'm telling you right now, the Revs have all the pieces to do it.
All right, we shall see. They could, they might,
And I
might
get
not.
a ring. I get maybe a couple.
Do you get a
rings.
ring?
I'll get 2 if they do Supporter Shield and
I don't
MLS
think you
Cup.
get a shield.
I get
Charlie.
I don't know. I've seen people celebrating Shield rings.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to go check that out. All right, we shall see. I've seen more just teams dressing up Captain America shields, not giving out rings for those things. But we'll see about that one. Look, a big weekend to come. Big thanks to Kelyn Rowe for joining us. If you have any thoughts on the weekend, 401-2060-MLS, extratime@MLSsoccer.com. Back with the full crew on Monday. Myself, Doyle, Goss, and Kaylin. In the meantime, that's it for us. Charlie.
Hey, at Weeby. If you got some problems, at Weeby.
Oh, yeah? Don't bring it to me? All right. It's been good to be back. Good to talk soccer. The stretch run is on. Let's do it. We'll see you on Monday. So you made it through and even enjoyed more than an hour of MLS talk with extra time driven by Continental Tire. That means that you should go subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to them, and you should also check out more extra time on the MLS YouTube channel. If I can point right there, click right there, and subscribe to the MLS channel right here. Have a great day, folks.